Imagine a tropical island, white beaches, crystal clear water, palm trees, peace and quiet. The perfect place for a relaxing holiday. But not everything is as it seems. On the Thai island of Ko Tao, often described in guidebooks as a paradise, a story unfolded that still raises serious concerns today. More than a decade ago, two British tourists, Hannah Witheridge and David Miller, came here hoping to unwind. What happened to them drew global media attention. What really happened? What secrets lie hidden on this picturesque island? Today, I'll tell you about a case that cast a long shadow over a place once considered one of the most beautiful on Earth. DarkFile, chilling true stories.
Ko Tao is an island in southern Thailand, located about 80 kilometers from Chumphon province. Covering an area of 21 square kilometers, the island enjoys sunny weather year-round, which draws hundreds of thousands of tourists, mostly young travelers carrying large backpacks, who arrive via constantly running catamarans. Ko Tao's economy relies heavily on tourism. Popular attractions include scuba diving, snorkeling, Muay Thai fights, and the famous full moon parties held during each full moon.
It's September 2014. Groups of British students are finally arriving at their destination. Among them are 23-year-old Hannah Witheridge and 24-year-old David Miller. The two don't know each other yet and are each traveling with their own group of friends. On September 14th, Hannah and three of her friends check into cabins overlooking the waters of the Gulf of Thailand. Her parents had previously tried to persuade her to choose a different vacation spot. They weren't keen on the idea of Thailand, but Hannah insisted. After all, she was an adult and wasn't traveling alone, so what could possibly go wrong? Still, she promised to stay in regular contact with her family so they wouldn't have to worry. That same evening, the girls head to a bar where they meet a group of fellow travelers, including David Miller, a student also exploring Thailand with his friends. They enjoy themselves, smiling for photos and clearly having a good time. After midnight, they move on to another venue to continue the night out. As it turns out, the students' accommodations are only a few hundred meters apart. Everything happens within a small area, crowded with people partying or strolling around. Around 2 a.m., David is last seen on CCTV at one of the bars he and Hannah had visited. Later, their friends admit that they left the two alone on the beach next to the pub, while they went off to continue partying. Eventually, they returned to their accommodations, none of them suspecting that something terrible would happen that night. Within hours, their friends would vanish forever.
September 15th, 6 a.m., Sairi Beach. Just 45 meters from the students' accommodation, two bodies are discovered. A young woman lies between the rocks, surrounded by blood. Her skirt is torn up past her waist, and her blouse is pulled down, exposing her chest, suggesting a possible sexual assault. Nearby lies David Miller, also partially stripped of clothing. Not far from the bodies, investigators find a rusty tool, a blood-covered hoe.
The bodies were discovered by a hotel employee walking along that stretch of beach. Shocked by what he saw, he rushed to alert his co-workers and called the police. What could have caused the sudden, brutal deaths of the two tourists? Did they die at the same time? How could no one have noticed anything? These were the questions Thai investigators now had to answer. But as it would soon become clear, they would make several serious mistakes. Local and eventually international media quickly descended on the scene. The victims were soon identified as Hannah Witheridge and David Miller. Unfortunately, the site was not properly secured during the critical early hours of the investigation. Almost all potential evidence was contaminated, trampled by passers-by and officials alike. The sluggish response from authorities gave any possible killer ample opportunity to destroy key evidence or escape the island unnoticed, as boat traffic continued unimpeded.
A cigarette butt was found near Hannah's body. Forensic testing revealed two distinct DNA profiles. One matched Hannah, and the other belonged to an unidentified individual. Could this be the killer?
The first people to be questioned were David's friends. DNA samples were collected from around 200 individuals who had any connection to the murdered students. The police were casting a wide net in hopes of identifying someone who knew more, or perhaps even the killer. At that time, about 60 officers were assigned to the case. Most of them were brought in from the mainland, since in September 2014, Ko Tao had only 6 local police officers. The double murder quickly caught the attention of Thailand's prime minister, who chose to address the nation. But no one was prepared for what he said. In his speech, the prime minister criticized Western tourists, stating that only not very attractive people could feel safe walking around half-naked on the beach. His words were met with immediate outrage from the international media. Soon after, the Thai police apologized on his behalf. To redirect attention, they focused their investigation on illegal immigrants from Burma. Officials firmly claimed that it was unthinkable for a Thai citizen to have committed such a brutal crime.
We must protect our citizens and cannot allow illegal immigrants to live and work among us without proper documentation. This kind of unchecked presence is dangerous and could contribute to the destabilization of our country.
Why did the police take such a stance? Was there any concrete evidence that foreign visitors were involved in the brutal deaths of the tourists? Well, speculation began to grow about a group of wealthy families on Koh Tao who were rumored to have ties to the local mafia. Whispers gradually turned into bold accusations, pointing fingers at specific Thai individuals who may have been involved. In one online documentary, an English travel writer even weighs in on the situation.
When we talk about the Thai mafias on the islands, we're talking about a real criminal network. Wealthy families with deep influence and powerful connections. They control people, money, and information. They know exactly who arrives on the island and when.
A puzzling figure in the case is the hotel employee who discovered the bodies on the beach. Footage from the scene shows him constantly hovering around the police, far beyond what his role should have been. After identifying the victims and giving his statement, one would expect him to step aside, but he stayed by the officers' sides the entire time. Now, back to the events of that night. David Miller was supposed to meet his friend, 26-year-old Sean McConaughey, but Sean overslept. The next morning, he woke to the devastating news of David's death. Then, just a week after the murder, something strange happened. While out at a bar, Sean was approached by 2 men, who confronted him with some chilling words.
You are the one who killed her. You have their blood on your hands. We know it was you. You will hang yourself today, and we will witness it. You will die today.
Sean McConaughey, terrified after the confrontation, ran for his life. He found shelter in a nearby store, hiding behind the counter as fear gripped him. Convinced his life was in danger, he turned to social media, posting a desperate warning. The Thai Mafia was trying to kill him. Later, in interviews with British media, Sean stood by his claims. He believed the authorities were determined to find a scapegoat, someone who wasn't local, someone expendable, and in a place like Ko Tao, that someone would almost certainly be a foreigner.
If I were to kill myself, it would confirm to the Thais that I was the murderer.
The man may have raised suspicions, especially because he had a visible wound on his body which some Thais believed might be connected to the deaths of the British tourists. However, it was soon confirmed that the wound had occurred before their arrival on the island. Surveillance footage from the bar on the day David and Hannah were last seen showed the man confronting Sean. Police later stated that the man had left the island, but claimed they had managed to collect a DNA sample from him beforehand. The results did not match the DNA found on the cigarette butt. So, the question remains, who will answer for the murders?
Days went by, and still, no one had been apprehended. Then, 2 weeks after the murders, 2 22-year-old Burmese nationals were arrested based on surveillance footage. Their names were Zhao Lin and Wai Fio. They confessed to the rape of the British woman and the murder of the couple. A crime scene reenactment was quickly arranged, something fairly common in Thailand, where the media was allowed to attend and film the proceedings.
Later, the 2 Burmese men testified that Thai police had forced them to confess. They claimed officers promised they'd serve only 2 years in prison if they admitted to the murder. But if they didn't, they'd be mutilated. Their arms and legs cut off, their bodies burned. British journalists later obtained photographs showing torture marks on the suspects' bodies. Thai authorities, however, denied all accusations of abuse. During the trial, which began in July 2015, one of the defendants managed to pass a handwritten note to reporters from The Guardian.
I was terrified when we were arrested. I felt ashamed when everyone looked at me like that. I'm not a bad person. I'm a good person. We didn't kill anyone.
During the trial, the Burmese nationals maintained that on the night of September 14th to 15th, 2014, they had consumed so much alcohol on the beach that they could barely stand, let alone harm anyone. Meanwhile, the prosecution laid out the evidence it had gathered.
DNA collected from a cigarette butt, and the body of the murdered woman appeared to link the defendants to the crime with 100% certainty. Additionally, David Miller's phone had been logged into one of the defendants' apartments. The two men also admitted to being on Sayre Beach the night of the murder.
But the defense had its own key arguments.
They insisted the DNA evidence should be retested according to Western forensic standards. They claimed that David's phone had been found on the beach by one of the defendants, which would explain why it connected to the apartment. They also pointed out that much of the crime scene evidence had been collected improperly and far too late. Crucially, DNA found on the primary murder weapon, a hoe, did not match either of the defendants. And finally, police never reviewed surveillance footage from the nearby pier, which could have revealed who left the island that night.
The prosecution sought the death penalty. December 24th, 2015, Christmas Eve. The Burmese defendants' mothers traveled to Thailand for the court's verdict. In front of journalists' cameras, they begged for their son's acquittal, convinced of their innocence. Even the Burmese government had appealed to the Thai authorities, asking for a fair and just decision. But the court, despite heavy criticism of how the investigation and trial were handled, sided with the prosecution. Both 22-year-olds were sentenced to death. All of the defense's arguments were dismissed. After the verdict, David Miller's parents made the following statement.
We believe that after a difficult start, the Thai authorities ultimately conducted a proper investigation and carefully examined all the relevant evidence. Contrary to what the defense lawyers have argued, we find the evidence against the two Burmese men compelling. They are responsible for the rape and murder of our children.
But the case didn't end in the courtroom. The fight for justice soon spilled over onto the internet. Shortly after the verdict was handed down, the hacker collective Anonymous launched a cyber attack on the Thai police website. They uploaded videos accusing authorities of framing two innocent men to quickly close a case that had damaged the country's tourism image. Shockingly, the sister of the murdered girl sided with the hackers. On social media, she described the way her family had been treated by the Thai justice system. She wrote,
"Your daughter is dead, but why are you so worried? According to our beliefs, Hannah will return in 30 days as someone else, perhaps someone happier." She added that many Thais showed open hostility toward Western tourists and little regard for human life. "Since my sister died, I'm afraid of my own shadow. I keep looking over my shoulder. I have constant nightmares." The Thais maintain that they have not received any official complaints from the families about the way the police handled the investigation.
The convicted Burmese men are still in prison. The death sentences were commuted to life imprisonment on 14 August 2020, following a royal decree to commemorate King Vajiralongkorn's birthday and illustrate the king's clemency.
Over the past few years, several other foreign tourists have also died on Ko Tao, among them citizens of Belgium, Russia, and New Zealand. Each case is as mysterious as the one we explored today. Still, considering how many tourists visit the island every year, the number of deaths remains relatively small. I personally know people who have returned from Ko Tao safe, healthy, and without ever feeling threatened, even for a moment. DarkFile, chilling true stories.